Okay, we're going to do examples on page 202 for this lesson number 4 of chapter 5. We have example number 1. It says simplify the expression 3 times parentheses 4x. So they're asking us to take 3 times 4x and simplify that. Okay, well, we would simply be able to multiply 3 times 4, right? And then times x. Now, what were we using here? Well, we're using the associative property of multiplication, where we can take and change the order, or let's say the parentheses, what we're actually multiplying. Now, why would we do this? Well, simply because we cannot multiply anything by x without knowing what x is. So x will always remain, but we can certainly multiply the 3 and the 4, right? So what will we get? Well, we would get 12 times x. So we applied the associative property of multiplication. Now, in example number 2, we're told add 7 to the expression 2x plus 1. So we have 2x plus 1, and we're told to add 7. Okay? Now, we might say 2x plus 1 as an expression this way, right? So now we would need to change that, and we'll change that as well to say 2x plus 1 plus 7. Why? Because we can add 1 plus 7. We cannot really add 2x to anything, or let's say further simplify it. We can add it and further simplify if we knew the value of x, but since we don't, we can only express it as 2x. But we can certainly add 1 and 7. And what does that give us? Well, 2x plus 8. So we have simplified this, and what we used was the associative property of addition. Now, divide the expression 10x minus 6 by 2. So we have 10x minus 6, and we're dividing that whole expression by 2. So it wouldn't necessarily just be 10x minus 6 divided by 2. It's the entire expression. So we should write it this way. So now we cannot add 10x and 6, or I cannot subtract 6 from 10x, let's say, simply because I don't have a value of x. So this is further simplified, but I can simplify this by using, again, the distributive property of division over subtraction. And I can rewrite this as 10x divided by 2 minus, and be very careful there, 6 divided by 2. And when we further simplify this, we would know that 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5. So we would have 5 times x minus 6 divided by 2, which would be 3. So our simplified expression would be 5x minus 3, which really you can see how something like this becomes much simpler when you look at it as this expression. Now let's take a look at our last example. In addition to the properties listed in this lesson, our knowledge of the meanings of operations can be used to recognize equivalent expressions. So if we're to simplify the expression 9 times x, all right, and we would certainly need to use these multiplication symbols because we certainly could put xx. We would have to show that x is being multiplied. Now if we were to simplify, we know that x times x is x squared, so we could further simplify this by simply writing 9x squared. And what we did was we multiplied again here. We multiplied the two x's. So we're not limited to numbers. We can certainly use variables, and in the cases where we have variables such as x. Now had this been, just to throw it out there, 9 times x times y, well, could we further simplify it? Not really, because we can't multiply x times y here. We can certainly do it with x times x. So this would have been 9xy, which would have been in its simplest form. And let's take a look at our last example here. Let me get my space back. Our last example, example number 5, we have simplify the expression 5x minus x. So can we further simplify? Well, certainly, because we know, for instance, that 5x is equal to, that would be x plus x plus x plus x. That's 4 plus 5, right? 5x. And then we're going to now subtract x, right? So we can certainly say that x minus x is equal to 0. So what are we left with? Well, we're left with 4x's. Okay, so the answer would be 4x. Okay, and I'm not expecting you to continue to do your math this way and write this out. You should already know that x is 1x, and you could simply subtract the coefficients. The coefficient of 5 and 1, subtract 1 from 5, and you would actually have 4x. Okay, so those are your examples. And as you go through your exercises, the exercises are very self-explanatory, very similar to what you did in lesson number 4. If you have any questions, then you can email me, and I'll certainly answer your questions as quickly as possible.